This week, the most explosive legal battle in NASCAR history just got a whole lot more complicated. A federal judge has now ruled. Chris Gabehart is still at Spire Motorsports. Gibbs Racing did not get what they wanted. And the bombshell details coming out of the courtroom and the legal filings are revealing a story that goes far deeper than stolen data. A story about a dysfunctional organization, a powerful family, and a man who says he was pushed out the door and then punished for leaving. If NASCAR runs through your veins, hit subscribe. We cover every race, every rivalry, and every moment that matters. Let's start with Monday's ruling, because that is where things stand right now. Judge Susan C. Rodriguez of the Western District of North Carolina issued what can only be described as a split decision, granting Gibbs Racing a narrow, limited temporary restraining order, but stopping well short of the sweeping ruling JGR was pushing for. The judge ruled that Chris Gabehart can continue working as Chief Motorsports Officer at Spire Motorsports, with one specific restriction. He cannot perform any duties that overlap with what he did as competition director at Gibbs Racing. From the bench, her words were precise and deliberate. Other duties are fair game. That means Gabehart can oversee broader business operations at Spire, work within TWG Motorsports' other properties, including its truck series, late model, and sprint car teams, and even travel to race weekends. He was already spotted at the IndyCar race, his first public appearance as a Spire employee. The judge also ordered Gabehart to return all JGR proprietary data and trade secrets in his possession, and ordered JGR to post a $100,000 bond as protection for Gabehart if the restraining order is later found to have been unwarranted. Both sides will return to court on March the 16th for a full preliminary injunction hearing that could significantly expand or narrow those restrictions. JGR put out a carefully worded statement after the ruling. "We are pleased with today's ruling by the United States District Court for the Western District of North Carolina for a temporary restraining order enforcing the terms of our contract with Chris Gabehart. We will continue the legal process to protect our information and fight for what is right for our race team, our employees, and our partners." But the reality of Monday's outcome is that Gibbs and the Gibbs family, who attended Friday's hearing but were notably absent for Monday's 10-minute proceeding, did not get Gabehart forced to resign from Spire. That was the big ask. That was what the full restraining order would have delivered. And the judge rejected it, saying the broader allegations of a coordinated effort to steal trade secrets were, in her words, speculative at best, based on the evidence currently before the court. On the Spire and Gabehart side, both Spire co-owner Jeff Dickerson and Gabehart himself walked out of the courthouse saying the ruling changes nothing for them because they have always maintained that his role as Chief Motorsports Officer is fundamentally different from what he did as JGR's competition director, meaning there is no overlap to restrict in the first place. Now, let's go back to the beginning of this story because the legal filings that have emerged over the past week have pulled back the curtain on the internal dynamics of Gibbs Racing in a way that is genuinely shocking, and it all centers on one name, Ty Gibbs. Chris Gabehart has been at JGR since 2012. He worked his way up through the engineering ranks, became Denny Hamlin's crew chief from 2019 through 2024, winning 22 Cup Series races in that role, and was then promoted to Director of Competition for the entire organization at the start of 2025. That is 13 years of loyal service and a career trajectory that had taken him to the very top of one of the most powerful teams in the sport. And according to his own declaration filed with the court, what destroyed all of that was a single, sustained conflict over Ty Gibbs, the team owner's grandson. Gabehart's legal filing reveals that Gibbs began pressuring him early in the 2025 season to take over as crew chief of the No. 54 Ty Gibbs car. Despite having just been elevated to a role above crew chief level, Gabehart repeatedly declined. He eventually relented and helped the No. 54 team behind the scenes before formally taking over as crew chief on June 28th for 9 races, until Gibbs missed the playoffs at the end of the regular season. And here is where it gets uncomfortable for JGR, because during those 9 races, Ty Gibbs scored 2 top 5s, including a runner-up finish at the Chicago street race and 4 top 10s, 3 of them consecutive. The results were there. And then Gabehart stepped back, handing the crew chief duties back to Tyler Allen for the playoff run. Doing so, he says, against the strong desires of ownership, but making clear he had never wanted the role long-term. His declaration then goes further, laying out what he describes as a dysfunctional organizational structure that made his position as competition director impossible. Key personnel decisions for the number 54 were made without his input or counsel. And then came the line that landed like a grenade in the NASCAR paddock. The number 54 driver was not held to the same meeting attendance standards as others on the team. In plain English, Ty Gibbs was either regularly late to team meetings or routinely skipping them altogether. And Gabehart had no authority to do anything about it. I found myself constantly intertwined with Coach Gibbs, senior JGR executives, and family members when making even routine competition decisions, he wrote, a dysfunctional organizational structure that I could not continue in. His account of how the split happened adds another layer entirely. When Gabehart finally decided he wanted to leave, he says he was told to tell anyone who asked that he was on vacation. JGR stopped paying him in November. His health insurance was not transferred to Cobra properly, resulting in health insurance claims being denied. And when negotiations over his departure agreement broke down, JGR sued. Gabehart's verdict on all of it is blunt and unsparing. This lawsuit is not about protecting trade secrets. It is about punishing a former employee for daring to leave. He does admit to certain facts, but with crucial context. He confirmed he took photographs of a JGR Excel file and other documents he had helped develop. He confirmed the existence of the folder on his Google Drive labeled Spire, but he insists the folder was created for his own personal evaluation of whether to join the rival team, not to hand information over. And he insists his own independently commissioned forensic audit proved the information was never shared with anyone. There is no evidence I transmitted, distributed, used, or otherwise shared any JGR confidential information. No text messages, no email attachments, no dissemination whatsoever, his declaration states. JGR's forensic investigation tells a different story, pointing to 20 race car setup files and over a dozen photographs of sensitive team data, including driver salaries, sponsor revenues, and payroll information sitting in his personal Google Drive folder. The March 16th hearing is where the court will begin to determine whose version of those facts is closer to the truth. The story now heads to March 16th, where the courtroom battle will intensify significantly. JGR is pushing for a preliminary injunction that could go much further than Monday's limited order. Gabehart and Spire are pushing back on every front. And sitting underneath all of it is the $8 million damages claim, the federal trade secrets allegation, and a portrait of one of NASCAR's most storied organizations that nobody inside that building ever wanted painted in public. The NASCAR garage has never seen a legal fight quite like this one, and the most important chapter has not been written yet. What do you think? Does Gabehart's account of life inside JGR change how you see this case? Is JGR protecting its legitimate business interests, or punishing a man for leaving? And who do you believe, JGR's forensic investigation or Gabehart's own audit? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more NASCAR news. I'll catch you in the next one.